this point, we know that Jesus was brown, right? We know that. But think about it, not just was Jesus brown, everybody in the Bible has to also be brown, right? Like all the disciples have to be brown. But you don't really think about that, right? Because these guys have super white names. You know what I'm talking about? Like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Doesn't sound like the guys that wrote the Bible. It sounds like the guys that would spank you with the Bible at Sigma Kappa Phi, right? Let's keep going. Simon, Peter, James, Andrew. Doesn't sound like guys that would have to apply for green cards. It sounds like guys that would marry women who want green cards, okay? I mean, otherwise, what do we think? Do we just think that Jesus was a brown guy with 12 white friends? Is that what we thought? Guys, that is not Jesus. That is Raj from The Big Bang Theory, okay? Although I will admit they both rarely have sex, I'll give you that. No. But you know what that means, right? That means that Simon, Peter, James, Paul, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, those are all brown origin names, right? Because otherwise it doesn't make sense. Otherwise, the disciples are just brown guys with white names. That makes no sense. You know who is a brown guy with a white name? Me. I look like this, my name is Wyatt, okay? You want to know why my name is Wyatt? I swear to God this is true. Because before I was born, my mom watched the movie Wyatt Earp, and Kevin Costner took his shirt off 2 times, and she's like, I'm going to name my firstborn child. That's true, which is, by the way, a hilarious way to name a child, right? Where she's like, oh my God, that name sounded so sexy. I'm going to call that my child for 30 years. Maybe it'll help him get all the girls. Well, guess what, Mom? It worked. It worked. No, I did a lot of research for this joke. You know what else I found out? The only disciple that we don't name our kids after is Judas, right? And I think that's because Judas betrayed Jesus, right? I think that if Judas did not betray Jesus, there'd be 5 million white kids in America named Judas right now. That's what I think. Seriously, Judas would be that annoying RA at your college that catches you smoking weed. That's what I think. And you'd be like, Judas, you betrayed me. Okay? Another interesting thing that I found out while doing research for this is the name Paul, right? Name Paul. Paul is generally thought of as one of the disciples, but I did the research. Turns out Paul is actually not one of the disciples. Paul was basically a holy man that lived at the same time as Jesus, and then he later wrote in his scripture, yeah, I was basically one of the disciples. Which I think is a hilarious idea, right? That even Jesus Christ had that guy that thought he was better friends with you than he really is. You know what I mean? That's hilarious that Jesus would go to temple and he'd see Paul and he'd be like, oh my fucking God. And then Paul's like, dude, Jesus, what's up, bro? And Jesus is like, what do you want, Paul? And Paul's like, dude, you remember that time you turned water to wine? And Jesus is like, yeah, we know. We literally wrote about it in the most famous book ever, okay? And then Paul's like, haha, good times. And Jesus is like, Jesus fucking Christ. I can't say that. That's my own name. It's ridiculous. Plus, and this is just circumstantial evidence, but this is why I think that the disciples and Jesus, they can't be white. Because think about it. If Jesus and the disciples were white, I wouldn't want to go to the Last Supper. The food would suck. Right? Think about it. Jesus is like, here guys, we have my body and my blood. I'm like, okay, Jesus, well, do we have salt and pepper? Because